this episode, I talk with director Todd Greenlee and actor Jasper of the killer independent horror film All Eyes. This is one of my favorites so far this year, and you can find it streaming now on Amazon Prime. And I also believe it could be on Tubi as well, but wherever you can find it, definitely check this one out. It's really killer. After you're done with this episode, make sure you check out my fellow horsemen of the podcast Apocalypse, Everything Went Black podcast, Into the Necrosphere, the Necromaniacs podcast, Break the Apocalypse, Iblis Manifestations, and the Soul Knocks podcast. If you dig this episode and dig all the other episodes I do, please make sure to leave me a rating on Spotify, iTunes, wherever you listen to your podcast at. That would be awesome. Thanks so much for listening, and hope you enjoy this one.
Truck month.
It's a Nissan dealership, and I think they're revving up GTRs, which is pretty cool because GTRs are pretty badass. But you know,
what's the GTR?
It's like Nissan's version of their supercar, I guess. It's like 600 horsepower. It's their most expensive car they sell is the GTR. So
it looks pretty badass. I'm looking.
Oh yeah, it's really badass. I've been in a GTR in virtual reality on Gran Turismo, and that's about it. So.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, that's the closest I've ever come to owning one of those. So.
Yeah. I just got a 2013 Buick. So that's a pretty impressive piece of machinery, if you ask me.
I love that.
Yeah.
I'm a Volkswagen man. I have a 2015 Jetta. And it's got a turbo and stuff in there. And it's fun. I like it. It's cool.
That was my first car. Was a much older Jetta, but I drove a Jetta for a little bit.
Yeah, good cars.
They are nice.
All right. Well, we're officially rolling now, so I appreciate y'all coming on the podcast.
No, thanks for having us.
Yeah, thanks so much for having us.
Oh yeah, it's my pleasure. I heard about All Eyes from the Colors of the Dark podcast. Elric is all about that. He's saying that might be one of his top films of the year. So I have to give credit to Elric for giving me the heads up on this killer film and y'all. So.
Oh yeah, thank you so much. That's so cool. Yeah, it's awesome that people are watching it. It's been pretty nice. It seems like to have reached a lot of people. So that's pretty awesome. We would have had no idea when making it that it would have got as many people watching it, so it's pretty neat.
Yeah.
I was listening again today to Colors of the Dark, and he brought it up once more. It's the second time he's brought up
really?
the film. So yeah, he's going on about it. So he got me hooked. So, and I've been telling people about it because as of right now, I think you're gonna make my top end list of one of my top films of the year. I fucking love it. So
let's go. Thank you, Brandon. Thank you
so much. Yeah,
it's great.
It was a really fun movie to make. So it's a lot of work went into it. So it's cool that it's finally getting out there. It's pretty nice. And, we put Jasper through hell making it. So.
Well, I remember when you were looking at the dailies, I would sneak into your office.
Yeah.
And I remember looking over your shoulder and seeing them and being oh my God, this is pretty damn cool. I think we've got something pretty special.
I think it was the first day of shoot. As soon as we started shooting Ben stuff, I was the first day of shooting, I was man, this is actually turning into something pretty cool. It's man, this is cool. It's all coming together. And I was just super happy with it. Yeah, we just kind of went for it and it paid off. So.
That's really killer. How did you get your idea for this film? How did it all start?
So my brother Alex, he wrote it. It was kind of during beginning of the pandemic in 2020. I wasn't working. I work in film, and movies kind of shut down for a while, and we did a little house party. It was kind of like a Skype kind of thing during the beginning of pandemic, and I was meeting with Alex, and Jasper was there, and as soon as Jasper left, I was man, I would love to do a movie. We could have been doing a movie right now, because I'm not working. And we had just released our first movie, Home with the View of the Monster. And Alex was like, well, if I write one, do you want to go do it? And I was like, yeah, sure. And so he wrote this movie. It kind of it started a lot differently. I think it had like a podcast element, but it kind of started a little different, and then it slowly morphed into being about this monster hunting farmer. And yeah, so he wrote and started out a lot smaller, and then it just kind of kept growing. And we kind of like, it was originally just going to be me and the Jasper and Ben and filming it, and then slowly we got our crew just kind of kept growing. And thank God, because man, that would have been a lot different movie. we still would have made something, but it just would have been a lot different, smaller scale. But yeah, it was a wild movie to do. But we just really wanted to make a movie about, you know, we like to make genre bending movies, so we wanted to make a monster movie that the monster element kind of like, you know, is secondary, and then it's like it's more about like these crazy booby traps and stuff going off. So like, because our first movie was a similar thing. We did like a haunted house movie that you don't know is a haunted house movie until halfway through. So like we kind of just like to do that, like pull the rug out from under people. So yeah, this monster movie, we kind of went in knowing like we definitely want to make it about this like crazy Home Alone kind of thing, you know? So like it's just fun to watch with people when they see that it's like, oh man, this is a completely different movie. So yeah, that's kind of where where it came from. But we wanted to make a movie kind of about, you know, loss and grief, but just set in a monster movie pretty much. And we pretty much pitched it to Jasper when we told him about it. We were like, yeah, you know, we're just gonna beat the shit out of you for like 30 minutes in this movie. And he's like, cool.
They did. And I was like, I'm on board, man. Let's make it an hour.
Yeah, you really went through a lot.
It's fun though. Very, very fun.
Yeah.
Jasper, you did a great job getting the shit kicked out of you.
Hey, thank you so much, man. It was a blast. Like the scenes where I really get beat up in, you know, it was when we filmed those, it was like honestly a really joining moment, I think, for the whole crew too, because you know we this seems kind of crazy, but we filmed all of Ben's stuff, so all of Don, the character Don, all of his scenes in 3 days, which is pretty like insane.
Yeah. And he's in the yeah. I don't know how we did it.
I don't either. And then from there, we started filming the scenes like where I got beat up, and it was like the middle of the night, and we all sort of like, I remember there was the first day we filmed all the scenes, like started filming the scenes of me like going through the booby traps and stuff, and it was like 4 a.m. or something like that, maybe 3:30, and Emily Calhoun, who's fantastic, she sort of wore many hats on the film, was like, hey guys, like we're late, like do we want to push through or do we want to like call it a night? We all sort of looked at each other like, hey, let's just do this, let's just keep going. And I think that was probably one of the more magical moments of filming it for me, and I'm sure everyone else kind of had that same feeling, because it really felt like we came together to really like go
everyone
through.
Was on the same page, which was cool, especially for a movie like this with so much going on. It's like, I mean, for the room that we were in when everything's kind of going crazy, like we were in that room, I swear, for 3 days, and it was just like it's just dark, and there's smoke, and it's just a lot of elements, and it's just like the lights and the, you know, explosions and stuff. And it's like, and I was like, everyone was just troopers when we were filming that, because it was just I was like, I don't feel like we're never gonna get out of this room, and we finally did. But man, it was like, and then Ben like cramming off his stuff into 3 days was very like, it was a lot, because it was just like kind of a physically demanding thing, and we kind of put him through a lot. And but he was just great, and he had like his monologue. We had to push up to the first day of shooting, and you know, when he's kind of talking about the letters, and yeah, he was just great. He was a huge professional. But yeah, everyone was on the same page, which was awesome. Like I don't know how the movie would have been made if it wasn't for that, because everyone even pitched in like when things weren't like Blady, the little blade with like the little thing with Will's, it stopped. It didn't work like when we were filming, and then everyone just kind of got together and we're like, let's figure it out how to fix it. And they kind of went off and fixed it, and it finally worked enough for the movie. But yeah, it was great.
That's cool. Like all the acting and everything is so like natural feeling, you know. It's like everything was really smooth, and I don't know, you can just feel like you know, a real friendship there. You know what I mean? Like it was really, I don't know, it was really smooth, I guess what I'm trying to say there.
Thank you. Yeah, we got, you know, I'm very happy with Jasper and Ben's chemistry in the movie, because it's just like it could have been the worst thing if that didn't work. And like, man, Ben, man, he was amazing. He was so fun to work with, and just, great personality. And he really brought a lot to that role. And Jasper, like, this was our second feature we had done with Jasper, and he's always a blast to work with. It's a lot different part. It was a lot different part from our first movie too, which is really, really interesting. So, yeah, he kind of plays a psychopath in our first movie, an axe wielding psycho. But yeah, this one was a lot different, but it was fun. And then even Danielle, she's in both movies as well, and she's an incredible actress. And she kind of has a smaller part in All Eyes, but she did, she came in for like 2 days and did great. So. Yeah, we got lucky with the cast. Everyone was awesome.
Yeah, that's killer. You can, like I said, you can definitely feel that watching this. Like, everybody's getting along really well and everything. And Jasper, you nailed like the podcaster part too. Being that I'm a podcaster, kind of like, oh man, that kind of touches me a little bit there,
Yeah, I appreciate that. That means a lot coming from you. So I really do appreciate that.
Yeah, I've never done any like cryptid type things. I've only stuck to like, regular horror stuff, but I do know some podcasters that do like the investigation stuff and all that, so you really nailed that.
Hell yeah. I watched so many whenever they pitched the movie to me, and like, I mean, I would do anything the Greenlees make. I would just like, sign me up. But they were like, yeah, it's like, he's a paranormal sort of podcast host. He investigates cryptids, things like that. And that's like my jam. Like, I watch like Ghost Adventures, anything on Discovery Plus that has to do with like anything, like any monster. So that's like right up my alley.
It's funny. We watched so much ghost hunting shows. Like, while we were filming the movie, like we at night we would just go watch like those ghost hunting and adventures and stuff. And then Miss Doubtfire also, for some reason, we watched a lot of Mrs. Doubtfire. I don't know.
A lot of Mrs. Doubtfire.
It was a great film, though.
It is a good film. Rob Williams, man. Right before some of the scenes, I would lean into Todd and I'd be like, could you explain the context of the scene through the scope of Mrs. Doubtfire? He would be like, all right, that scene in Mrs. Doubtfire where they're in the courtroom and like,
I just want you to channel that courtroom.
Yeah.
How I want to do this.
That's fun.
What are some of the big like paranormal shows that you drew like inspiration from?
Oh, that's interesting. There was one, Todd, what was the podcast? Do you remember the name of it? There was a podcast you sent me specifically that was like it was a paranormal investigation podcast, and I can't remember the name of it. Do you remember the name of it?
I forget. Then I'll have to find it, but I forget. Yeah, we sent you a few that we liked. I know like one was that I really like, which I don't really know. It's not really paranormal, but they do like
time or something like that, right?
Reply All is really cool.
Okay.
Yeah, they do like a lot of investigation stuff. I think we sent you that one, but yeah, we sent you a few paranormal ones as well. I forget which ones we specific, but also just a lot of shows too, like a lot of those ghost hunting shows and stuff like that.
Like Ghost Adventures, Destination Fear.
Yeah.
Kind of thing. And then, but there were a few other specific podcasts. And then I listened to like radio too a lot, which I know is not like a direct correlation, but I listened to a lot of radio just constantly, and like old like horror radio shows and stuff like that. So that was pretty fun, but yeah.
Did y'all check out any like Coast to Coast for like inspiration? Have y'all heard of Coast to Coast?
I don't think so. What is that?
That's like it was a radio show. I think it was on the AM or whatever. It still goes on. I think it's like internet radio now, but it's called Coast to Coast, and it's been around since I want to say the early 90s, maybe the 80s. I'm not 100% on that, but it's like a call-in show for the paranormal and stuff, and then they have guests on there talking about different things in the paranormal world, and it gets really fucking crazy, especially with some of the call-ins and like the people calling there and telling these like weird ass stories. I would listen to this show at like 10 o'clock at night when I was a teenager and stuff. On my little like jukebox type thing, and have that playing. It used to get pretty creepy, man, because some of the call-ins are really disturbing.
I love
that. There's something to be said about like the audio medium or books even, where there's an aspect of your own imagination that comes into it. and so like that's so much more frightening because then like the monster really lives in your own head and it's just so terrifying. So that I bet that's really really cool.
Yeah, my brother and I, we grew up watching like Twilight Zone. I mean, that inspired like a lot of our stuff. Like we love the Twilight Zone, and even like Unsolved Mysteries. I loved Unsolved Mysteries, like the old one. It's great. And then like the new Netflix one is pretty good too. But like, yeah, those just creeped me out growing up. I was like, these are creepy. But yeah, the Twilight Zone definitely had a huge influence on us, and we even reference it in the movie. So yeah, we love the Twilight Zone.
Going back to the movie or whatever, like, how did you come up with the creature design? Because it's pretty unique.
Yeah, so we wanted the idea, like, we like the idea about he's like he's in the public view a lot, so there's like literally he's getting all these views and stuff like that. So like, oh, let's do a monster that kind of replicates that idea, and it's just this monster with 1,000 eyes on it, and it just kind of grew from there. And we just also like the look of that. We were like, this, I think that'd be. I think the first image we had in mind is kind of the shot when there's near the end of the movie when it reveals the monster and you kind of start to see these like eyes kind of pop up and it's Jasper standing there. That was like literally the first shot we had in mind of the movie. So we were like, having all these eyes, that would be pretty interesting. So we just kind of kept playing with that, and yeah, so it kind of just grew from there pretty much. But yeah, the whole idea about views and all that kind of was the inspiration.
That's cool. And I also like how you like revealed it towards the end. It wasn't like out there like popped out in front of you the whole movie, because I think that takes away from a lot of monster movies when you already know what the monster is like at the first part of the film. I like how it's kind of hidden there, it's kind of lurking behind the scenes.
We were kind of inspired by Signs because the movie Signs does a similar thing where it like doesn't really, if you actually rewatch the movie, it does not show the aliens a lot. Like it shows like you'll see like a glimpse of a foot, or you'll see like, there's really, it's like there's that one scene where the first time you see it walking on the news footage or whatever. But other than that, it's like we were like, oh, it'd be cool if you just kind of see glimpses or like things moving, or you see the hand, or you see like, we went into the movie being like, we don't want to make a movie where it's like, well, maybe the monster isn't there. We actually wanted the monster to be in the movie, so we were like, but it was just like more about the traps and the the human element of stuff. But like, yeah, we definitely designed it around like the less you see of it, like Jaws, kind of the scarier it would be. And honestly, like I think the amount you see of the monster is like perfect for me. It's like, and honestly, that wasn't even like a budget restraint thing. It was just like that was how we designed it. We were like, we want to have it just the big time you see it's the ending, and yeah, the hand, yeah, really like near the end is kind of where you see it, and you hear it a little bit throughout the movie, but yeah, that was definitely designed like that in the script.
Yeah, I was happy to know that the payoff was a monster too. That was cool because I've been let down by some films before, like they kind of draw you in, like, oh, is gonna be a monster movie, and it turns out just to be some crazy dude. You know what I mean? So it was good having a monster payoff because I love monster movies. So
yeah, and I do too. And we definitely wanted to have one. We were like, we don't want to do that thing where it's like you just never see it. One movie I really liked does a similar thing was Monsters. That was a really good movie. And they kind of do a similar thing near the end where it's like the big reveal of it, which I think worked perfectly. It's kind of more, it's, I don't know, it just lands a lot better for me, I feel like, than if you just saw the whole movie, because honestly, a lot of movies I love, like horror movies, are for me, that's the best. The less you see of it, the better, and for me, that's kind of what we wanted to do with it.
Yeah, that's like American Werewolf in London, man. You only see the werewolf for like a little teeny bit of the time, really, towards the end. But god damn, that's still one of the scariest movies ever made, and one of my favorite movies ever made. So.
I love that movie. Yeah, that's definitely like, yeah, and it works so great. Like if you would have seen it the whole movie, honestly, for me, like horror movies that show, like one of my favorite horror movies is Insidious, but that movie near the end is like when you start to actually see the monster thing, like the demon, like a lot more, and it just wears off after a while. You're like, man, that's not as really scary anymore because you're just seeing it a lot, and you're it kind of, yeah. So like the less you saw of it, the better. When you just saw glimpses or whatever, you know.
Is that the one with Ethan Hawke? Is Insidious the one with Ethan Hawke?
Sinister.
Sure, okay.
Insidious is with Patrick Wilson, I think.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's yeah, that movie's great, but the ending's just not great. It's like, for me, I feel like some horror movies just like really don't land the ending sometimes. But yeah, that one was like, would have been better if the less you saw of it, you know, would have been great. But that's just
yeah. So I have seen that as well, and I think it's something that we did, or that you did specifically, Todd, is that you didn't play too much with negative space in the way that horror movies do. And so there is like the presence of the monster, but it's not so prevalent with the negative space, like hinting like, oh, are we about to see it? Are we about to see it? And so I think that not utilizing the negative space to that extreme allowed the story to be more about that human connection. And then when it did appear, it wasn't as though it was filling some void that had been previously left throughout the whole movie, but it was just, you know, now an active live thing, which I thought was really cool.
Yeah. And we also wanted the house to kind of be a thing too, like kind of a monster. Yeah. Like it has like the sound to it. If you listen, it has like a breathing sound, and it creaks, and it's like, you know, we have those the shots of like the gears and stuff like that. So it almost has like, it's like a living thing. And we do some little details, like even with like, you know, there's a part of the floor that when you step on it, it creaks. And we kind of like, that's kind of like what we make is like the trigger for when Dawn dies. It's like, that's kind of the trigger for it. But it's like a very subtle thing, you know, but we do a lot of cool things with the traps and the house and the sound design. So the house.
Spoiler alert! Spoiler alert! If you haven't seen it.
Yeah, spoiler alert.
Yeah. By the time they listen to this, hopefully they. Yeah. But yeah, that was kind of like important for us, was keeping the house like a thing, you know, like a character.
Yeah, and like I said, that twist was out of nowhere too, which was really cool. It kind of threw me in like a Saw type vibes, you know, when the whole house stuff started going on. Like, man, I didn't see that coming. That's pretty brutal, and like all the traps were really like creative and stuff too.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, that's a really fun scene to watch with an audience, because like it's just fun, because like people are not expecting. There's nothing we don't. It's almost like that feels like, you know, he's kind of giving this really sweet, you know, monologue, and like, man, things are wrapping up. This is a really nice little movie, and then you look and it's like there's like 30-40 minutes left of the movie, and it's just really fun to watch because people are not expecting it, and it's just like it happened. We made it incredibly just like abrupt and very brutal, and it just like kind of from there just like skyrockets into like a different thing, and we were just like, yeah, we love that. And honestly, like we love movies that do that. That's kind of like our thing. And like Barbarian was similar. You know, that movie was awesome.
Oh, hell yeah. Yeah.
That movie is like a middle point turn, you know, where it's like all of a sudden it's like a different movie. And yeah, so it's like, it's really fun to watch All Eyes, where it's like it just skyrockets to do a Home Alone kind of thing, you know. It was just fun to play with, you know. It's just like those traps were fun to make. Like everything's practical. Like everything, all the traps and stuff you see in the movie are practical. Like it's all on camera. Like the explosions and all that stuff is like all practical. So like, it was just fun to work with and kind of design these things. That took a long time to do, was kind of rigging up the house to like, to have all these things there. Like one of the hardest ones, which is only like a second of the movie, was whenever the harpoon flies out of the, you know, and it hits Dawn, like the cat rig to fly open, and it was like a whole thing, and it just like timing was just like crazy, you know. I was just like trying to get that to work, and yeah, so everything, it was fun. It was a fun movie as far as like designing the traps, and everyone kind of pitched in a little bit and kind of helped make some of that stuff. Like James Ray, our gaffer grip, he designed like the hammer one, the hammer that kind of comes out of the closet. He designed that one. So yeah, it was fun. It was a fun one.
That's cool. And where all this take place at? Was it like on some land you have, or is this like?
Yeah, so we shot in Oklahoma and outside of Hobart, which is it's my family's farmland. So we wrote the movie around this location that we knew we could get. No one lived on it. No one had lived in the house for like 10 years, but we knew it really well because it was kind of our grandparents' house growing up. And we knew when we were writing it, we knew exactly where the people, the placement of everybody and where things were going to happen. And it's honestly, it's crazy, since the movie was shot, like it got blown away by a tornado. So
Oh
like,
shit.
yeah, so the barn isn't there anymore. That workshop isn't there. It's pretty much just flattened everything. Like, they blew everything away. So like, there's nothing there anymore. The house is there, but it's like they're gonna have to tear it down because it kind of got destroyed. Uh, but yeah, it's we definitely wrote it around having access to all this land and the woods, the workshop, just everything. It was almost like it had been set design for 40 years, or for whatever, like 50 years or whatever. It's just this crazy uh collection of things. So everything was pretty much how it was. We did add stuff like, props and things, but for the most part we kind of grabbed a lot of stuff that was already there and kind of worked with that. So yeah, I like doing that. Our first movie was similar, where we wrote around a location we knew we could get, and I think it just feels more lived in, when you do that.
Yeah, I definitely got that feeling.
Yeah, and it's like we intentionally wrote it where the house was like empty. We wanted that to be an element of the movie, and honestly, it wasn't. We could have added stuff in the house. That wasn't like, if we wanted to make it look like it was lived in, we could have done that. But we had like an element where we're like, oh, this would be interesting if this guy, they get rid of a lot of stuff. But then you see the stuff he kept, and it's like random. It's like you look at his workshop and it's just full of things, and we're like, that's pretty interesting. He has like random like horse memorabilia and like a random clown poster, and we're like, this is just funny, like the things he decided to keep. Yeah, but that I love that set. The house was awesome to shoot in. It was just really cool it was pretty to shoot. Everything, all the elements were great, and yeah, it does feel lived in because it is a real house that people lived in for a while. So
Yeah, that's really cool, and I bet that helps too with like budget and stuff like that, being that you already know the place and you know what's going to be there and what's going to be, what you got to do and stuff. So that's got to be a little bit easier on you too.
oh yeah, it definitely helps. You can, a lot of that stuff you can't replicate. It's like, to on a soundstage or something. It's like it just works. It just feels a lot better, more lived in. And it is funny, like the woods that they sit in front of. It's like it's movie magic, because that thing there's no woods there. Like it's just literally just a row of trees, and if you look behind it, it's just a road. There's like nothing. It's just like,
Wow.
but we made it look like it was like a woods, which is cool. We literally used every bit of it we could use for the movie, but yeah, but we just kind of wrote around we knew exactly where that was, and knew we could get it. Honestly, the biggest problems we had was the rain, because it was raining a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, we thought it was Oklahoma, and we thought it was gonna be like 100 and something degrees, and it ended up just
Hmm.
raining the first few days of shooting. And the field they're sitting in is an alfalfa field, and so we shot a lot of the stuff the first day, and then we were gonna wait a little bit, and the alfalfa grew, like, I swear, like a foot overnight.
Uh-huh.
And it was like all of a sudden it looked completely different, and we were like, man, we have to shoot everything because it's gonna look completely different. And yeah, so we had to do camera tricks to make it to where you couldn't see the field, because it was like we were shooting up, and then we were like, man, you can't, because it looked like a different field pretty much. It was crazy. That's movie making for you. The elements are not working in favor at all.
Yeah, at least y'all didn't deal with any tornadoes, so I guess that's good, right?
Yeah. Even though it blew it away recently, but yeah, it's like, yeah, we didn't have to deal with any while we were shooting, so that's pretty good. Yeah, I'm surprised it wasn't hot, because that's what I was worried about. I thought it was gonna be like incredibly hot while we were shooting, but because Oklahoma is usually like that, but no, it was fine. It kind of reminds me of when we were shooting our first movie, Home with a View. I think we shot it in, it was like March or something in 2017. And when we were shooting, the grass was dead, like the trees were dead, everything. It looked kind of like, it was like fall or something. But then it's like within 2 days, the grass got really green. The everything, and my God, like now everything, just the continuity looks different. But yeah, it somehow managed to work where you don't notice it. But yeah, elements are never in your favor when you're making a movie. It's crazy.
And speaking of a home with a view, a home with a view of the monster. I have not seen that one yet, but Elric was talking about that on the Colors of the Dark podcast as well. He mentioned that movie. He's like,
Wow.
I wanted to go back and check out, some of your other work, so he checked that out, and he's like giving some positive comments. Yeah.
Yeah, it's so awesome that he's like mentioning that stuff. Yeah, Home with a View is like a lot different tonally, it's tonally a lot different, because we were just setting out to make a different movie with that. Like, it's a lot slower pace and atmospheric kind of, but I love it. It's kind of a similar thing though, where it's like it feels like one movie and then turns into something else. But yeah, that one was fun to do. It was just fun to do a haunted house movie. It's not about the haunted house kind of, but yeah, Jasper, you give a great performance in that movie. You were like crazy.
Thank you. I appreciate that. That was a lot of fun to film. Oh my God, that was so much fun. Both of them. I mean, both of them.
Yeah, full cast. Yeah. Like Danielle was awesome in that. She's crazy. Yeah. If you watch that movie, you're like, how are these the same people? It's like they're crazy.
A little wacky in that one.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember when we were shooting that movie, the first few days, because it was a 3-week shoot, and the first week we weren't shooting your stuff, but like you were not on set, and you're kind of just helping out, like getting lunches and stuff. So I think like the 2 leads thought you were just like a PA or something.
Dude, definitely. Sebastian definitely thought I was the coffee guy, and then
and then we had to shoot. We shot
your doing the first scene, and he looked at me like, "What? Who the hell is this guy?"
You're beating down a door with an axe, and they're just like, "What the hell is this guy?"
I was like, "I can still get your coffee. It's okay. We're all buddies here."
we're still buds, but yeah.
Yeah.
That shift was crazy though. I remember like the whole crew was. I mean, I don't think anyone on the crew realized that you were like in the movie until we were shooting. Because even like the DP, like Sam, everyone was just kind of like, "Oh my God, who is this guy?" Like all of a sudden.
I remember the one James. I feel like such a jerk. James brought in a friend to help with grip, and she, because I didn't know her very, very well, and like that happened, and then I remember looking over at her like day 2 or something like that of me actually acting. And I had the axe, and I was in my weird little actor mode of being like a psycho. And so just like pacing back and forth. I looked up at her, and she like looked at me, and we were both like, she was like, what the fuck? I was like, I'm sorry. Like, I swear to God, I'm a normal person. I'm just like.
Luckily, this character in All Eyes was a lot more grounded of a person, I feel like, or not more grounded, just like a lot more of a normal person, Yeah,
he's not like a murderer.
Yeah, not a hitman kind of crazy guy.
Yeah.
Jasper, who did you draw like inspiration from for your psycho part?
Oh, in Home with a View?
Yeah.
I didn't want to, I had the idea of looking at actual interviews with people who have killed people, but I thought then that I would be emulating that person as opposed to the character that I was supposed to be, so I didn't want to go down that route. And so what I tried to do was understand the mental state and emotional state of someone who could kill like that. And so what I would do was, as opposed to like looking for specific people for inspiration, is I would try to make myself devoid of any happiness or empathy for like periods of time throughout the day, like set periods of time, like similar to how you would like do a workout or something for like an hour. And I was living in Chicago at the time, and this makes me sound like an insane person, but so I want to preface that I am not insane. But so I would sit on the train stop, like waiting for the train. It was the Chicago brown and purple line, and I would sit there listening to Philip Glass and because the Todd and Alex let me know that the character listened to Philip Glass,
Yeah.
and then I would literally try to like block myself from feeling anything good and like any sort of sympathy or empathy for other people, and then after like an hour would elapse, I would be like, okay, pull yourself out of it. You gotta get the hell out of there. Yeah. And then I would try to use that audio trigger to like, whenever we were on set, I would listen to that same song before a scene and then try to fall back into that mode of like crazy person.
Yeah, that was a really fun character because it's like I like these little moments where you just see like the shift in your eyes, you know, like to like you're pretending to be somebody and just seeing that random shift where you see your real self. You're like, my God, it's like,
Hey, thank you.
yeah, like it's that moment because I like the character because you're this very calculated psychopath kind of guy,
Yeah.
but then you're paired with this very unpredictable, unhinged, carefree person, which is Danielle's character, and it's like it's just like you can't handle that. It's like it's so hard to handle, and it's like it was just a really interesting, fun characters to work with in that movie. Danielle is the most annoying person you could possibly be around, but she nails that so well because she's not like that at all. She's like so fun to be around, and yeah, but that was a really fun movie to do, I thought.
So fun.
Yeah, that we shot that one in like 15 days, I think, and All Lies was shot in 10 days. So we should have done 3 weeks for All Lies, but we just kind of had to do what we had to do with what we had. We only had everybody for that certain amount of time, and we're like, well, we're gonna make a movie in 10 days, so it's like, let's do it. It was hard. I mean, it was really, really hard, and it was where Home with a View though is a lot easier of a production. It was like very like we were shooting 10-hour days. There's a lot of days that we would finish filming and we're like, do we really not have anything else to shoot? And we're like, I guess not. Let's go party, guys. Let's go hang out. Where with All Lies, it was like we were pretty much shooting till like 5:30 in the morning. I feel like most days. I felt like with All Lies, like I felt fine the whole production, and then I swear as soon like the last day we saw the sun come up, we were like hanging out, like just kind of celebrating, and then I just crashed so hard. Like it was weird. Like I think I was going in this survival mode when we were filming, but then afterwards I was like, I crashed, and it took me like to recover from that. It was like,
dude, the last scene we filmed, so like what you're referencing, like just as a little fun insider thing, when we were filming that last day, and it was like 4 a.m., 4:30 a.m. when we started filming the last little bit of scenes we had to get. It was the scene where I'm sitting on the stairs, like drinking scotch.
After you get fired, yeah.
After I get fired, that was like one of the last, like I think the last thing we filmed.
Last thing we shot, yeah.
Yeah, and I don't know if it's okay to say this, but it was actual scotch. Can I say that?
Yeah, totally.
It was actual scotch, and I thought we were just gonna like bang it out in one take. And so I like drank it all, and then they were like, "No, we got to do it again." And I was like, "Oh shit, okay." And it was like a double.
Yeah, so it was also really nice scotch. Like my dad.
It was Lefroy.
Yeah. Yeah. And you just chugged it, and then I was like, "Yeah, we have to do it again." So by the end of it, you were just like feeling it.
Wow.
It's kind of a similar thing with. I remember when we shot Home with a View, like we got a sponsor to give us some beers and stuff. So we would always incorporate it randomly. And yeah, man, having them drink some of those, like especially if we haven't eaten anything, and it was like, man, you start to feel that. Well, but yeah, that was fun. Yeah, that was funny. I forgot about the scotch. That's hilarious.
Yeah, having some real alcohol really adds to like the realness of it.
Yeah. I don't recommend it, but if you can, it's fun.
If it was like a scene where we were actually like doing dialogue or like
if we were doing,
I wouldn't do that for sure. But yeah.
Yeah, like man, like the scene where your character chugs the vodka or whatever. It's like when you're doing the
in Home with a View.
No, in All Eyes, when you have like when you're bandaging up yourself.
The big bottle.
That was just
like pour it on my hand. Yeah.
Man, that would have been we would have been out, in bad shape if he would have chugged that.
Yeah.
Did y'all have any like strange things going during the filming of All Eyes? Like being out here dealing with cryptid stuff anyways, and kind of like weird spooky shit going or no?
It's like it's funny, we had a little mouse that was hanging around set. We called him the unit production mouse. He just was like, and I don't know, we scared the shit out of that mouse because he was used to a house that no one lived in for ever, and or for a while, and also we're just like a lot of people there. But yeah, no, it was a pretty chill production. It wasn't, but just as far as like shooting, there wasn't really anything crazy. I mean, it rained a lot, and the woods, the area we were filming at night is like the shot of dawn at night. It's like that flashback scene where when he's like first sees the monster or whatever. And that was really late, and it was like so many, like we got all those lights set up, and just all these bugs just kind of came out of nowhere. And I felt so bad for Ben because like he was just in his underwear, and it was just like all these like bugs and stuff. I'm like, oh God. But yeah, it was like for the most part there was like nothing scary, which I would have loved, some ghost stories happening. That would have been nice.
What about, because I remember when we were filming, we asked your mom too, because she ended up helping out a lot, and she grew up in that area. I was like, what's the deal about like?
Yeah, she mentioned
in the woods. It's like a deer person, right?
Deer lady, yeah, which it's funny. I was watching Reservation Dogs, that FX show, and they shoot that in Oklahoma. They actually reference the deer lady in there. There's a whole there's a whole scene about it. Yeah, I was like, but yeah, apparently in that part of the state, that's a urban legend there. Is the deer lady. But yeah, it was wild. It was cool to see that in Reservation Dogs. I was like, oh my God, we should have rated it in our movie. Great.
I think there was a Masters of Horror episode that did like a deer lady type thing. Do y'all remember the Masters of Horror episodes that they did? Mick Garris' show he had back in the day.
Yeah, I remember that. You do? Okay. Yeah, that was cool. I love.
He did it. Me too. I'm big like what do you call like anthologies and stuff like that. I love those.
Like Tales of the Crypt and stuff like that, like things like that.
Yeah, totally. I wish, speaking of Tales from the Crypt, I wish it was somewhere to stream or something. They don't, because the whole thing's about the music rights and everything is all like up in the air with that, so nobody can stream it. Even HBO can't stream it.
I didn't realize there's like streaming. That's crazy. You thought they would have.
It's nowhere.
That's been a while.
Did you guys watch Cabinet of Curiosities this past October?
No.
Yeah, that was pretty killer. I did.
The Rupert Grint? His one where he's like going into he goes into that crazy house, the witch. Yeah, I loved it. I thought it was so fun.
Oh yeah, that was based off a Lovecraft story.
Oh really?
A bunch of those are there's a few of those that were based off of Lovecraft stuff.
Yeah. Like Toro's show? Was that the?
Yes, that was the Del Toro like anthology show that he did.
He didn't like direct them though. He just sort of curated it.
Oh, what's he? Oh, okay, cool. I like Black Mirror. That show's awesome.
Wait, which one?
Black Mirror.
Oh, nice. I've only seen the pig episode, which I think is the first.
Yeah, it's good. I mean, the last season, which was years ago, which they're coming out with a new season, but the one, I think the last episode was before COVID and all that stuff. Mm-hmm. But yeah, it was like it wasn't as good, I thought, but yeah, that show's pretty good. Pretty fun show.
Yeah. It's good in like such a bad way. Like some, how they make you feel in some of those episodes. They're like, man, like that's true horror for you. Like there's an episode where like you could see like your spouse, what they can see, like something with like contacts or whatever. I mean, that was so fucked up, man. I'm like, God damn it, hits you at a different level.
Yeah, it has some crazy shit where you're like, man, this feels like it's like could really happen. Like a lot of that stuff is like, this feels like pretty realistic, Yeah, that show's awesome. I love it. I would do an anthology. I like those kinds of shows.
Let's do it, Todd. Let's
do it. Let's make one.
I would be able to do that.
Yeah, y'all could do an anthology, then bring it up to Shudder and get on Shudder. That'd be really fucking cool.
Yeah, we Home with the View is actually on Shudder. It's like when that got on there, I was like, it was awesome. We were like, I'm hoping that All Eyes gets on there. I think at some point it might. With distribution and stuff, we don't really control all that. But like, Shudder's awesome. Like when Home with the View of the Monster got on there, I was like, it just opened a lot of doors for people watching it. I thought, because that's definitely our audience. I feel like Shudder is like 100% our audience with our movies. So yeah, I would love that. It's, it might happen. It took Home with a View to a while to get on there, but like yeah, I would like to see All Eyes on there. That'd be pretty cool.
That would be cool. It'd be also even cooler if Joe Bob got a hold of it for the last drive-in. How badass would that be?
That would be crazy. That would be pretty
Right.
wild. One can only dream, yeah, but it's just crazy. Like this movie that, All Eyes is like really having, it's just crazy how many people are watching it. It's cool. I mean, I love it. It's like, it's doing so much better than, I mean, Home with a View for an indie movie, did really well. But this movie's All Eyes is on a different level as far as like how many people are watching it and interacting with it and reaching out and saying they watched it. I was like, man. So it's always cool to hear podcasts and stuff mention it, because I'm like, it's just cool, like that it's reaching them. I'm like, this is crazy.
Yeah, and it's still like the best way to like really like get people to watch stuff is like word of mouth. When you like trust somebody's reviews or whatever, you're like, oh, they got good taste, I'm going with whatever they say, and
Yeah.
that's how I ended up, from Elric and stuff. So like I think it's a good way of doing it.
Yeah, I love movies that you just stumble on. That's like we always make our movies. Like, man, it would be cool. I hope this movie is a movie that someone's just going to stumble upon, like, late at night or something like that. It's like this crazy random movie that they're just like, have no expectations for, and just, just go along for the ride. That's kind of always our goal. So it's just awesome that, just word of mouth is great. It's been, for this movie especially, it's been great. It's been awesome.
Did you do like the whole festival run and stuff too with this? Or?
Yeah, we actually had a really good festival run. It was fun. Like the first one we played at was probably one of my favorites. It was the Houston Horror Film Festival, and it's like they do like a convention there with like a lot of horror movie people, like celebrity actors and stuff. But they have a film festival that's part of it, and we showed it there, and that crowd was incredible. Like the people that run it were great, but like it was like a packed audience, and it was like the first time we were kind of seeing it with like a big audience like that. And like the reactions to the twists were just awesome. Like people were really reacting. Well, I first knew we kind of had them whenever like Don slurps the Vienna sausage can and people reacted to that. I was like, okay, cool. People were paying attention. That's cool. But then when the twist happened, you could feel it. People were like erupting. It was like this crazy. And then when it ended, we got like a standing ovation. I was like, this is pretty awesome. But like, yeah, we had a lot of really cool festivals. I like we did a lot of LA ones. We did like Burbank, NoHo, like Sherman Oaks. Like we did a few of those, and but it was fun. Like there's a few I wish I could have gone to. There's one that we won best feature at. It's called Dickens Horror Film Festival, and I guess it takes place at like an haunted opera house. And I'm like, man, I would have loved to go to that one. That would have been fun.
What was that? I wish I could have gone to that one. What, a haunted opera house?
Yeah, it's like, man, this is cool. I just did. You can't go to all of them, but I was like, I mean, I would have loved to go to that one. That would have been fun. Yeah. And then to win at that was great. Yeah, Jasper won a few of the festivals. Won Best Actor at. That was pretty cool. And Alex won Best Writing at a few. And yeah, I had a really good festival run. It was fun. I mean, honestly, we had already gotten distribution by the time festival started, which is, when you're making an indie movie, like that's the main goal, is to get distribution, because that's how it gets out there. And some movies never get that, and it's like you go into this purgatory. So we were like, we got distribution. So by that point, we were like, okay, this festival circuit's just going to be fun. It's going to be like not stressful. It's going to be like we're just going to go just to show it to people and have people see it. So like, it was fun. I loved it. It was just like there wasn't a single bad one we did. Everyone was fun. So
that's really cool. And I think right now is a really good time for like indie horror, because I mean, look what Terrifier 2 did. Like, you know what I mean? Like they kind of like blazed a new path for everybody, I guess, and it's kind of like opened things up once again. And horror is really big right now. So
yeah, Barbarian, which I mean, but still, it kind of came out of nowhere. That kind of move, like horror is having a really good time right now. It's just like there's a lot of really good ones out, and yeah, Terrifier 2, that was like a really cool one to be like, and even like Skidamarink,
Oh yeah, love
shot for
Skinamarink.
like 15,000 or less, you know, like that movie's made probably a lot of money. It kind of like blew up, and yeah, it was like it's a really good time for horror, especially indie horror. And I would like to do at some point do another genre, but Alex and I, or my brother Alex, like we just love horror movies. Like they're fun to make, and our next movie is going to be a horror movie also. It's like it's the same kind of genre bending like thing, and we already know what we want to do. But yeah, hopefully we can start. I'm hoping to start to shoot something like the end of the year or like beginning of next year, because like would be fun. I'm just ready to make another one, honestly. And I think the next one it's gonna definitely be a step up. It's gonna be like we're constantly like, you know, doing bigger and better things. So like hopefully we just amp it up a little bit. And it's gonna be crazier too. It's gonna be like way more nuts.
Nice.
Yeah, we like those crazy scenes where you're just like, what the hell is going on? This is nuts. So that movie is the next one's gonna be all that pretty much.
Do you already have the name and all out for it now, or is that something you can't really talk about yet? Or
I can't talk about that right now, but we do have a name and a plot. So like you know, we're currently writing it. We're like Alex is writing it. I think he's getting through it. So but it's just been fun to figure out, and we talk about it on the phone a lot, and try to figure out the plot, and it's just a really fun movie. The pacing is quicker too. It's like it kind of just drops you right into the story, and just things are crazy after that. So, and Jasper hopefully is, you know, definitely has a part in it. So
let's go. Great news for me. I would always do anything.
Yeah. And hopefully I want to put Ben in it too. Ben would be fun to be in a movie again. But
Ben is so cool.
I would use that guy in everything. He was so good. And it's funny, like with All Eyes, we didn't know him going into the movie. It wasn't like we just knew him through mutual people, and now he's in a lot of great movies. You know, he was in Minari. He's like I think he has a small part in Scorsese's new movie,
wow.
Killers of the Flower Moon. He has like a small part in that. He was in Reservation Dogs. Yeah, he's just great. I would use that guy in everything. So as well as Jasper. Jasper is going to probably be in every single one of our movies. So
anytime.
You know, I think that's a solid choice for sure. Definitely.
Yeah.
I got one question about the new movie that, if you can even say anything, but does it involve werewolves by any chance?
No, but I would make a werewolf movie. Those are fun.
Yeah, I'm still waiting on like a really cool new werewolf movie, because I heard this year was going to be like the year of the werewolf, I guess. That's what I was hearing, but haven't really seen it yet. But I think it needs a like a werewolf revolution thing going on.
What's your favorite werewolf movie? Do you have a favorite one? Is it Werewolves in Paris?
No, it's American Werewolf in London. It's my favorite, definitely.
Okay.
And then I guess I would put The Howling as my second favorite, and then probably Dog Soldiers number 3.
Where do you rank the original Wolfman?
The original one?
Yeah.
I mean, it doesn't really, it's great. I appreciate it, and it's, you know, for what it was and stuff, but it doesn't really make my like top 10. It's probably in like top 20 when it comes to werewolf stuff, you know, but it's, you know.
Where does Twilight fall in that?
Twilight is not on the list. So far off a list, it's like there has to be a list for that being off the list. I'm not a fan either, like, of werewolf movies where they have like the dog-like werewolf, where it's like, oh, it looks like a fucking wolf. I'm like, man, I want to see a werewolf. You know what I mean? Like, stand on 2 feet, or like be on all fours, but be a fucking werewolf. You know?
You know what did it cool? And it's like it's not a horror movie, and it's more sort of like a silly action movie. But Van Helsing, I thought, had cool werewolves in it.
Yeah, that was a fun movie.
Like this sort of werewolf.
Yeah.
Yeah, especially for that time too, it was really good. Van Helsing was a fun movie. I just wish it wasn't so much CGI there because I am just
Oh,
not a big fan of like the CGI like creature
That's
type stuff where it's heavily CGI the whole time. I want to see more
I agree with
practical.
that. I
yeah,
agree with
You know,
that.
yeah. Like because it doesn't really age well like that. Like old like CGI back then. I mean that was like 2008 or something, wasn't it? Like early 2000s was that Van
Yeah,
Helsing?
hmm
yeah.
And yeah, so the CGI just doesn't really hold up. But yeah, it's like I like practical as much as you know, yeah, and especially in our movies, I'm like, if we can do it practically, I want to do it. Because also CGI is like expensive. it's like
Yeah.
it's like I think a lot of our budget went towards making like that took a lot of the budget because it's just not it's just even small CGI is like a lot of work. It's like a lot of money. Like in all eyes, like no one notices, thank God. But like we had to like digitally put in. We forgot to put the light bulb on the wall on one of the shot on like a whole scene, and
hmm
so we had to digitally put that in. And I was like, and there's like Don's like jumping up and down in front of it. He's like the camera's moving. It's like, and I was like, well, this isn't gonna be easy. So we that definitely was one of those things. We're like, oh man, we're gonna have to do this in CGI, but no one notices it. Thank God. But yeah, if we didn't have it there, people would have noticed. So,
yeah, CGI used sparingly is cool, but I think practical is like it takes the cake
yeah.
on that, especially when it comes to like werewolf movies. There was one that came out in the early '90s that's got one of the best werewolf designs ever and one of the best like uses of practical effects, and that was a Bad Moon. Have y'all seen that?
Bad Moon.
No, I'm gonna look it up right now.
Dude, Bad Moon is a great fucking werewolf movie. I think there was two cuts though. I think there's one that was like kind of like all chopped to hell and back, and then there's like the director's cut, I think.
Oh, this
So
movie
the one
looks.
you want to try to watch is the one that's got like the full cut and everything. Because there's one scene in particular, like when the film starts off, it's a super brutal kill scene. I think they kind of cut that off for a
Oh,
lot
Yeah.
of areas they're releasing that or whatever. So, but if that's like back on there, like it's a fantastic movie.
I love the poster. That movie looks cool.
And I'm totally with you. Like this, like the more sort of humanoid werewolf. Like that looks
hmm
way cooler than just like a bigger wolf. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
Yeah, I just don't like the dog look. When I see some, oh,
yeah,
they're gonna transform the big transformation, they turn into basically a dog wolf. You know what I mean? Like
yeah.
I'm like with American Werewolf in London, at least, yes, that wolf was on all four legs, but it looked like a fucking beast. It was like, it wasn't just a regular everyday wolf. It was a fucking
Oh,
monster.
that
Do
looks
you
so
do you
good.
ever get into the like fables? So I'm Swedish, and so I'm like obsessed with Norse mythology and stuff, and like the
Mhm.
old berserkers and stuff like that. Do you ever get into that?
I do dabble in some of that time to time. I do like Norse mythology. I think it's fucking awesome, especially when it deals like berserkers and stuff like that, and their
Yeah,
whole like werewolf type mythology type thing. So
love it, man. Cult of Odin, all that stuff.
Yeah.
Oh, and hey, in this movie, the family dog's name is Thor. That's fun.
yeah,
It's fun.
and it's a werewolf that can climb trees, so that's pretty
That's
unique.
terrifying.
Yeah, there's no escaping this motherfucker.
Yeah. Holy shit.
And it also has that like real skeezy type '90s, early '90s vibe to it. I don't know, it's like kind of a greasy feel to it, because there's an uncle in this movie. I'm not gonna say too much more about the uncle guy, but he's got like a real skeevy type personality. He's like, and it just fits those early '90s really well. I think you'll really dig that one, especially if you've never ever seen it. Like it's gonna be cool
Yeah.
seeing it for the first time.
I'm
I
like
love,
reviewing watches.
yeah, I love like older horror movies and stuff. Like, uh, even growing up, we would always like go to when we rent movies, like, yeah, we would always find the old obscure horror movies. Uh, like I remember growing up, there was like one called The Pit.
hmm
that is literally just like the thing that got me was like the back cover has like this kid pushing a lady in a wheelchair to a pit, and I was like, what is this movie? It's bonkers. That movie is so weird. But, oh, did you speaking of werewolf movies, did you see Wolf of Snow Hollow?
Yeah, I like that, but I was disappointed with the ending because I wanted it to be a real werewolf. I was like, man, because it was leading up to, it, I was like, oh, this is a
Yeah.
real werewolf and stuff, and I was like, it was still really good for what it was, but man, I was a little disappointed when it turned out to be this, spoiler alert, a dude. So
Yeah, yeah. luckily on our movie we didn't go that route where you figure out Don's the monster or whatever.
Yeah.
We should have done a Scooby-Doo thing where Don it's like guy pulls off the mask and it's Don. It's like, wait.
And then it ends with like me and Don getting a beer. Like,
Yeah.
you crazy bastard.
People be like walking out the theater on that one, like, all right, I'm out of here. I'm good.
Yeah, right.
Just the logic makes no sense,
Yeah. Took a really weird turn in the last 5 minutes.
That was like watching M. Night Shyamalan's The Village. Like, I was all in on The Village. I wanted to go see it in theater and stuff. I was all in for like most of that whole, like 90% of that whole fucking movie. I was like, man, what are these like creatures in these hoods with the horns? They look fucking badass. Then at the end, it was all a hoax.
It's all modern day, yeah. It's
They hit the road, like escaping. I hate that. Yeah, I do like my man M. Night though. I like a lot of his stuff.
Yeah, I liked Knock at the Cabin was pretty good.
The new one.
Yeah, what's his David?
Batista.
He's great in it. He's like he has
Great
like
at it.
yeah, he has like this monologue near the end that's like really really good, and you're like, my God, where it just kind of comes out of nowhere. I love movies like that like a horror thriller thing that's like has a random moments of like heart in it. You're just like, and with our movies we try to do that. Like we try to put a lot of heart, and it's like that movie does that where it's like these people don't feel like. It's like they're villains, but they're not. Like they have like reasons, and you can tell that they don't want to be there doing that, So it's like just a fascinating character, and his character in that was like he's like a big dude, but you're just like he's so just you can tell he doesn't want to be doing this, but he has to. It's like that movie was great. That was a cool one. Yeah, M. Night's cool. I mean, he's hit or miss. But I rewatched Sixth Sense recently. That movie is incredible. I love it. Sixth Sense. That's just a really good movie, and it's like it's scary, but also just like it's like at the heart of it, it's like this movie about a mom and her kid, and it's like the ending scene with them is like incredible. I didn't realize that Toni Collette was only like 24 when they shot that movie, or 25.
What?
Yeah,
really?
She was young. Yeah, and that movie was just incredible. Like the cinematography isn't great. Like I watched behind the scenes of it, and I guess he told them to shoot it not like a horror movie. So shoot it like it's and it just makes it more unsettling to see these like warm scenes, and it's like you see like stuff going on. So it's like all that. I try to replicate that stuff. And usually when we're making a horror movie, we'll rewatch the scene at the end of Sixth Sense with the mom, and we're like, yeah, this is like, you have to have the heart. You have to have that moment where it's like, you're connecting to these characters. So that's really important for us with our stuff.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. You got to like the people that, you got to care with them. You want to feel for them and stuff. Like when bad shit happens, you want to feel that too. And like, I hate when films come out and it's like, you can't give a shit about the fucking characters. You know what I mean? There's no heart there, like you're saying. Like that adds a lot to it.
Yeah. Like, one of my favorites is like Virgin Springs, the Max von Sydow, and like there's that scene where because it's the same plot as Last House on the Left. I mean, it's the same. It's based on the same source material and everything. And there's that scene where he's sitting at the table and it's like the lights kind of coming in, and he like the people are sleeping. You can tell he's about to like just destroy them, and he gets the knife and puts it on the table, and you're like, oh my God. It's like, but there's just so much like heart. There's just so much like, you can tell he doesn't want to be doing it, but he has to. And it's like, it's such a great
movie.
Yeah.
I love that movie so much. When he's praying to God and it's like you're seeing it from the omnipotent view. Yeah. It's like his back. Oh my God, that movie is so good.
I watched that when I was like, I think in high school, and I remember being blown away, and I was like, my God. Because I think I love Last House on the Left, like the original one. Yeah. And then when I figured out, it's based on this this other movie, and I watched that, and I was like, oh my God, this is like even better. It's like it's I mean, it's more contained, but it's just like really
that cool. Bergen guy, he knows what he's doing.
Yeah. Ingmar, he kind of knows how to make movies. But, yeah. I like them both. They're really good movies.
Yeah.
Going back to M. Night Shyamalan, I don't know if you know if this exists or not, but on Apple TV there is a show called Servant. Have you heard about this?
I've seen it. I've seen like the first season of it. I haven't seen the newer ones.
I can't get my girlfriend to watch it with me. Is it good? I want to
It's
watch
great.
it.
I just the season. I mean, actually, the show just wrapped up. I think they did 5 or 6 total seasons. So now the show is over. So they're all up on Apple Plus to watch if you want to binge them all. But yeah, it's one of the best TV shows out right now, I think.
I hope, because I didn't finish it. I hope at least, and don't spoil it, but I hope at least you figure out more a little bit, like because I remember when the first season ended, I just don't even know anymore about what's going on and like what I knew, going into this, and it's like, so hopefully you figure out a little bit more about what's going
Does
on.
something wacky happen?
Yeah, it's like they get their kid dies, and so to cope with it, they get like a doll, it looks like it's a realistic looking baby doll or whatever.
What's a super children do?
And they get this lady to come in and like be the take care of it, but they're like treated like the dad's like treated like it's like a real kid or whatever,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and everyone does that. That's super cool.
So crazy. Things get wacky, and it has some history, and it's like, yeah, it's a bonkers show. It's very well shot. It's it's funny. They drink a lot of wine in that show, and also take a lot of baths. And sometimes they do both. They do like.
It sounds great, man. I love taking baths.
Yeah.
And there's like an Omen feel to it. I don't want to give too much away by saying that, but there's an Omen-ish feel to this whole thing too. So.
Like the movie The Omen.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, it's got like you got to watch it because saying too much really gives everything away. But just know that the plot takes a long time for it to really like fold out. I think the episodes are like 30 minutes apiece, so it's gonna drag on, but it's worth the ride, I think.
I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna watch that tonight. I'm gonna make my girlfriend watch it. But we're watching this. It's really good.
There's another killer show too on Apple. I think a lot of people don't use Apple like they should. They're like, oh, whatever. It's got this comedy show here or whatever. But there are a few really cool horror series on there. Another one, it's called Shining Girls. Have you heard of that one?
I have not.
No.
That kind of fell under my radar. I did not heard of that.
This comes in this.
Sorry.
Go ahead.
Sorry. No. Sorry. You go.
I would say this falls into the category like sci-fi horror thriller, I guess is what I would put this in. It deals with like time travel and serial killer type stuff. That's all I'm really say about that, because it's also one of those films one of those series, like say too much is going to give it all away, but really well done. And I don't hear nothing about it. I'm like, man, this show's really, really cool, but you don't hear nothing of it.
Dude, I'll totally watch. So we just started watching The Silo on Apple TV, and
me too. Yeah,
Silo's cool. I like it a lot.
Yeah, it's a slow burn for sure, but it's really interesting so far.
The main lady who like becomes the main lady, not to ruin anything, one of the actresses on it, she's in the sequel to The Shining, Dr.
the
Sleep.
Hat Lady. Yeah,
she's kind of weird in Dr. Sleep, or not as an actor, but I think the character
that movie was for me a little underwhelming. I thought it was gonna be more horror, and it ended up being more like, I don't know, like it wasn't horror. I don't know. Like I like the scenes that were like kind of replicating The Shining. They kind of replicate a little bit of the old Shining, but it's like, I don't know, Dr. Sleep. I love the director. He's a great director. Like he did a Haunting of Hill House, or Haunting of
Oh yeah, I love that
House.
show. All of his shows that are
he's great. Dr. Sleep for me though was just a little, it was underwhelming. It was a weird weird movie.
I prefer the book over the movie.
Yeah, because it didn't feel like a horror. Like it wasn't like horror really at all. It's just kind of these like witches and stuff. I felt like I was like,
they're like kind of like vampires almost, I guess, like almost like psychic vampires or something.
Yeah,
like,
And I'm not really into witches and all that, like magic stuff. I'm not really into that. So
I love that stuff. I'm not gonna lie. I love witchcraft. I got some tarot cards. Tarot. I love it all.
Another one that Flanagan did that I like a lot, that's on Netflix, is Midnight Mass. That was a really good series.
I love that. Oh my god, that one. That's I think one of my favorite series ever. I love that one. Oh my god.
It feels so much like Stephen King wrote that, and Stephen King had nothing to do with it. He like nails the King feeling without King even being involved in it, which is really cool.
Yeah. God, I love that movie or that show.
I mean, Haunting of Hill House is for me one of the scariest shows I've seen in a while. Like, it has some really great, unsettling scare. Like, I mean, it has that big jump scare in it that you're just like, oh my god, it's like kind of nowhere. And then like just they do these things where it's like, even if it's like a shot of the house, you're like, man, why does it feel unsettling? And I guess they hide kind of things in it, like there's people there or whatever, and it's like, I'm like, yeah, this is a great show. It's like,
I literally couldn't sleep without a light on when I was watching that show. I feel like such a baby. Literally, I was like, I'm too scared, man.
During the big
bent neck lady is gonna come get me.
Yeah, during the big jump scare scene in the car. I mean, spoiler alert, but then in the car, I was like, I think my body went to this weird I didn't make a noise, but my body went through that like shock of like I was like, oh my god, like oh my god. Yeah, it was terrifying. I would love to do something like that in our next movie. I'd like to do a big jump scare.
Nice.
Yeah.
That'd be cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, Haunting at Hill House too, there was a lot of like subliminal stuff there, and also some like hidden shit. Like I think there was like 50 ghosts total, and you had to like kind of find them. They were kind of there, without really being there. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, a lot of the like establishing shots have them, and yeah, even throughout the house they have like random, like there'll be some, and because other movies do that, like Insidious kind of did that, where they hide people in it, and it's just creepy. It's like, yeah,
yeah. In Hill House, some of them weren't just CGI; it was real ghosts. They'd hide real ghosts in there.
Cool. Yeah, just hauntings,
Yeah. Insidious, man, going back to that too, like first time I saw that movie it was like 2 a.m., 3 a.m. It was really, really, really late, and I was already in that like half awake, half asleep type feeling, and I watched Insidious for the first time. I was like, wow, that's that did the trick, man. I'm like, god damn, especially like when the Red Demon or whatever, he's like sitting there sharpening his claws with Tiny Tim playing. I was like, this is fucking horrifying, man.
Yes. The kid jumping out of the cabinet or whatever scared the shit out of me. I was like, oh my god. It was terrifying.
Yeah, I still love that movie, even even now I still think it's a great movie.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I like The Conjuring's great. Sinister was good until the ending. I didn't like the ending of that movie. It got really cheesy. I didn't really like I was not a fan of Black Phone. I was like not a big fan of that movie.
I never saw that.
It was all right, but it was just, I don't know, it really lacks something,
Yeah, people were really hyping it up, and I mean Ethan Hawke was great in it, but it just kind of got cheesy, and yeah, it was just weird. The logic didn't really make much sense for me. Yeah, I was kind of hoping more for that movie. The tone was bizarre. Like it had this weird kind of like it was trying to be like humorous, but like I don't know. I don't really know what it was going for. Some of the characters are weird. Yeah,
I think it would have been better as a short film. I think it would have been like part of like a bigger film with a bunch, another anthology type thing. I think that's where that would have shined at. I think a whole film is like nah.
Well, I think it's like a short story. I think so. Yeah, it would have been better as a short. Like honestly.
Yeah, that's Stephen King's son wrote that, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh wow, I didn't know that. It's crazy.
Yeah. And so, with him too, like with his son has his own like universe of like how his dad has like his universe with like the Dark Towers and all that stuff. His son has like his own universe thing, and all tying together, which is cool because there's a show that came on AMC, I believe, and it's already canceled, I guess, or it kind of ran out on its own. But it was called Nosferatu.
Oh,
you heard of that?
Oh wow.
I mean the original, not the show. Yeah.
No, this was spelled like NOS. It was spelled like a license plate because it was like a play on words or whatever. It wasn't really Nosferatu you were dealing with, but you were dealing with something else that was similar to that kind of vampiric. But yeah, like with the movie we were talking about just now, like the character Ethan Hawke played, he kind of ties into that universe too. He's like one of the characters in that universe, like because there's a whole shit ton of like bad people like with supernatural abilities, some not with supernatural abilities. Like it's really cool. It's like a whole universe thing.
Oh, that's awesome. I had no idea that existed. That's crazy.
I love that.
Yeah. And that's like with Stephen King, like everything ties together, which is fucking crazy. Like all his movies, or I mean, I'm sorry, all his books and everything, like somewhere they tie in together with like the Dark Tower and all that stuff. It's all one giant fucking universe, and that's
Talking about Stephen, talking about Stephen
crazy.
King, one of my favorite movies, and we actually watched it before we did All Eyes, Misery, because
Oh
like
yeah,
it's just such a great movie that takes mainly place in one room, like not just one house, like it mainly takes place in a room, like in a bed, like it's only mainly two characters, so similar to our movie, mainly two people, a lot of the movie, uh, and I feel like All Eyes almost has like more locations than that movie has. It's like, I mean, there's several locations in Misery, but it's like for the most part just in that house. And it's like, so when we were doing All Eyes, we are like, let's watch Misery and kind of like, what did they do that worked, and kind of how they dealt with the space. And yeah, Misery is an incredible movie, acting wise, and everything about it is amazing.
I love that movie.
yeah, great book and also a great movie. That's for sure.
Yeah.
I just did a podcast episode. My last one was with Andrea from Rue Morgue magazine.
Oh yeah,
She runs Rue Morgue, yeah, and we did our top 6 favorite Stephen King novels, and we also have some like honorable mentions and stuff too. But I think that was a fun one. If you want to go back and check that out when you can, like we go kind of deep on some of that stuff.
That's cool.
Absolutely.
Cool.
Well, this has been great, y'all. I appreciate both of y'all being on the podcast with me, and I appreciate what y'all did with All Eyes. I just think it's fucking awesome, and I'm gonna praise the hell out of it.
So much. I really, really appreciate the love it's getting, and just the shout outs is incredible, and hopefully people will keep watching it. It's like it's just always crazy to see people mentioning it. It's like, yeah, but it's so much. I love it, and yeah, thanks so much for having us on, and it's always fun to talk about the movie. So yeah, people,
yeah, most definitely.
If anyone ever we always like post on Instagram, like we have our Homefront Instagram, Homefront Pictures Instagram, and then All Eyes Instagram. We always post like behind the scenes pictures and behind the scenes stuff and on that. So we always if people want to stay up to date with it, we always have stuff on there. So.
It's cool. Actually need to go follow some of those on Instagram there. I don't know what I follow and what I don't follow right now, so I need to catch up on that, I think.
Yeah, we have a lot of fun pictures on there. Like a lot of, it's cool to see like a lot, and even with Home with the View, there's some behind the scenes for that as well. But
that's killer. Yeah, and once this podcast episode comes out, I hope hopefully get a few more views and stuff like that too. So get some more watchers out there. So that'd be fucking cool. So yeah, I'm gonna keep spreading the good word for y'all. Like letting people know this is a great movie.
I really appreciate it. It's so
cool. This is so cool. It's so fun to talk with you, and thank you so much for having us on. And really can't tell how much it means to us that you watched the movie and liked it. Seriously, thank you so much.
Like I could talk about horror movies like a whole day. I feel like I just could talk hours about horror movies. So it's always fun.
I love doing that. Maybe we can set something up. We can have both of you back on later this year or something. We can just talk straight horror movies or whatever and stuff. And
hopefully by that point we will have our next one kind of starting up. So maybe we'll be able to get more info about that.
That'd be great. I'm looking forward to it. I hope y'all too have a killer rest of your weekend. And we'll talk again soon.
Yeah, awesome. Thanks so much.
You too. Yeah, thank you so much, man.
Y'all take care.
You too. See y'all.